Hello everyone, I'm Captain Courageous and I review old school modules and games and try to give them a fun and informative analysis. This week I'm going down the quarantine rabbit hole that is Advanced Heroquest. Last week I did a review of the classic board game from Milton Bradley in association with Games Workshop, Heroquest. Advanced Heroquest is the sequel of sorts to Heroquest, though it uses a completely different rule system and a combination of its own miniatures and the miniatures and furniture from the original game. This thing was a bit of a marketing mess for Games Workshop, which caused a bit of ire with gamers at the time, as it assumed that the purchaser already owned Heroquest. What came in the box was still pretty substantial, but there was hardly any miniatures included and no furniture. So while this is a great game, the customer dissatisfaction with the box contents relegated this great game to an early grave. That doesn't mean you can't use modern printing methods and a bit of crafting to resurrect this game once more. There was one expansion published called Terror in the Dark, and after that, Games Workshop moved on to something else, releasing Warhammer Quest in 1995. Now, here is where the rabbit hole comes in. This long out-of-print game is, of course, going for ridiculous prices on auction sites like eBay, but there are plenty of fan sites out there to help pick up the slack. The one that I found the most useful was one called Advanced Heroquest. There you can find a rulebook that combines the expansion with the core rules and several of the White Dwarf magazine articles and some homebrew content to come up with a really great game system. Once I glanced through the PDF, I knew I'd have to print it out because, as you know, I'm old school. I need to hold the book in my hands in order to really absorb the material. I can learn with a PDF also, it's just not very enjoyable. So the first thing I did was change the cover of the book. Not a fan of all black, it's a killer on the printer ink and not very appealing in my opinion. And I found this great Terry Oaks unused art piece from the original game online. A PNG copy of the Advanced Heroquest logo, a few minutes with the paint program, a trip to Staples for binding, and this is what I came up with. Much better. What immediately appealed to me about the game system was that it was based on all D12s. The D12 just does not get enough love in my opinion, and as far as platonic solids go, it's my favorite. No offense, Mr. D20. Amazon revealed a large bag of randomly assorted D12s at a cheap price, and soon they were mine. The next step, and the most laborious, was, of course, printing out the tiles. Now, I have my own method for this, and hopefully, even if you don't get into this game, you'll find this useful for making dungeon tiles or whatever for your own Dungeons & Dragons games. The problem with cardstock is that you have to limit how thick it can be and still fit through the printer. What I really wanted was the rugged ultra-thick tiles like you get in the professionally produced product. Now, once again, Amazon is your friend, as you'll need 70-point chipboard sheets and 8.5 by 11 label paper. The chipboard comes with 15 per pack for $18.99, and if anybody knows where I can get it cheaper, please say so in the comments. And 100 sheets of label paper for $11.99. You're also going to need a paper guillotine. I know a lot of you purchased one of these after watching my How to Print Out Your Own Original D&D rulebooks a few months ago. Now here's another great use for it. This thing is so useful. I use it for tons of projects. You're also going to need some nice scans of the dungeon tiles you would like to print, which you can find easily enough online from many resources. You don't even have to use the Advanced Heroquest tile specifically, though, for the game scaling is important so everything matches up consistently on the table. I like to start in a paint program with the correct ratio for printing out an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. The scale really depends on the original scan, and ideally your scan is of high quality. Opening up the scan and seeing its size will give you a rough idea of where to start. So I did find a nice bunch of Advanced Heroquest tile scans online. If you check the canvas size for the original scan on these tiles, it scales to a height of 34.57 inches. That's a good high quality scan, which will look great when printed out on your standard 8.5 by 11 sheet. Now, I'm certain there's a graphic designer formula for getting the correct scale and ratio for printing, but all I did was create an 8.5 by 11 blank sheet and then just increase the canvas size height to 34.5 and then made sure that the maintain aspect ratio box was checked and scaled it up that way. Now it's just a matter of cutting and pasting from the original. Then printing out a low-res copy and using this scaled up sheet proved all the scans I had were of the same scale, and I was lucky enough to get it right on my first try, with the dungeon squares measuring out to 1 inch right away, so an easy success. Now there's a little bit of trickery going on here with the tiles that isn't immediately apparent. If you look at the pictures of the game with the original tiles laid out, you'll notice that the various rooms and hallway tiles line up. But the room tiles have an additional gap added to them on the edges to account for the brick walls. This really messed with my head for a bit before I realized that the squares for the hallways were a bit larger than the squares for the rooms to accommodate for the walls. A test print of the hallway pieces revealed that the scale held true. A 5 square hallway piece lines up with the walls of a 5 square room piece. Success once again. So now that I have my base sheet scaled correctly, I can simply begin creating the tile files. When doing this, make sure you use PNG files. This allows you to create a raster file that supports transparency, or simply put the background image here, sees through to a blank area. You can create a layer behind it and put your dungeon tiles there. Once you have the correct scale, you can create any kind of tile you want. I had a nice high quality scan copy of the original Heroquest board, so I made a bunch of tiles of those. So now you can just print out your scaled tiles on label paper, carefully line it up with the chipboard, and peel off the backing. The label paper I have has a small section on one end scored, so you can easily peel that off, stick it to the chipboard, and then peel off the rest and just carefully smooth it out. No glue, no mess, and since you're not getting the chipboard damp or wet, there's no danger of warping either. To get a professional, perfectly aligned cut for the chipboard, use your paper guillotine. It will slice through that thick chipboard with ease. You'll be able to create a bunch of dungeon tiles in short order. So I was pretty satisfied with my tile collection after several nights of work creating the files and printing them out. I had to pause in order to order ink and paper from Amazon, but I was able to resume work within a few days. Now, I do have a bunch of the old Warhammer Quest tiles I've accumulated over the years that I've used in my D&D games, but as you can see here, the scale of the squares for Warhammer Quest tiles is a bit bigger. The solution here was to scan the tiles I had and then just cut and paste them into the templates I'd already created. In short order, I was able to convert my Warhammer Quest tiles into Advanced Heroquest tiles. Using some nice vellum cardstock paper I had on hand, I also created some Heroquest character sheets using the statistics given in the rulebook. I also decided to make up some monster cards as well. These were fun to do. I scanned the art off the original Heroquest cards and then pasted it into the Advanced Heroquest cards I created. Using the paper guillotine, I was able to make some nice looking monster cards that will be convenient to use at the table. Since I was already at it, I also converted over the artifacts and chaos spell cards from the original Heroquest game to the Advanced Heroquest system so that I could play out the original Heroquest adventures using the Advanced Heroquest rules. The Advanced Heroquest rules are really just great. I love how quick and easy they play out, As I said before, it's based on a D12, which in my opinion makes for a more robust system than the specialty dice included with the original game. Note also that the ink on original Heroquest dice has a tendency to rub off after a while. And the problem with any system that uses specialty dice is that in years to come, when the game is out of print and people are still playing it, as they most certainly are with Heroquest, the specialty dice become an expensive premium item. For advanced Heroquest, any nice D12 will do, and clearly you can get a bunch of them cheaply. To make an attack in the game, you look up your opponent's weapon skill on the combat chart. That gives you the hit roll you need on a D12 or better. If successful, you roll the number of D12s indicated based on the weapon used. This number is derived based on your character's strength. The stronger you are, the more damage you'll do. Compare your damage die roll to the toughness of your opponent. For each roll equal to or greater than your opponent's toughness, you score a wound. Most monsters have 1 or 2 wounds, though tougher monsters can have more. Range combat works in a similar manner, but the hit number is based on the number of squares between your character and the target. You can increase your character's toughness by wearing armor, but the tougher the armor, the worse the penalties for your bow skill and your speed. Magic is based on colleges. The game comes with 4 colleges to choose from: the Bright Wizard College, the Light Wizard College, Jade Wizard College, and the Amethyst Wizard College. Supposedly there are 10 magical colleges in all of them based on a different color, but the rules only cover these 4. Monsters can have special abilities like claws, berserker, regeneration, and so on. There are quite a few monsters in the back of the enhanced rules book from various expansions and White Dwarf articles. Skaven, orcs, goblins, minotaurs, and more, and the system is easy enough that you can create your own. The author of the advanced edition has also included training and leveling rules so your hero can get more powerful between adventures, and even has skill cards you can print out as well. The one weakness I saw that people spoke about in the rules was the problem with using doorways as choke points to funnel the monsters one at a time to make larger groups easier to defeat. I really don't see this as an issue myself, and honestly I think that's a valid tactic. To curtail the tactic, however, the rulebook suggested making all doors 2 squares wide rather than 1. The example showing these 2 square doors visually was not very appealing to me. Besides, for years now I've been using these cheap plastic doors from Litco. They are really great as game pieces. The base is transparent and the hinges and handles are clearly marked. They come as either single or double doors. You can also get portcullises and secret doors as well. So I'm just going to use these with the common layers using single doors in most cases, and quest rooms and the like using double doors. That brings me to one of the coolest aspects of the game, and that's the random dungeon generation system. Dungeons with their contents are created on the fly using a series of random charts and rules. It's very reminiscent of Appendix A in the back of the original Dungeon Master's Guide of 1st edition AD&D. However, since you are using tiles, it goes very fast, and if you're using a Game Master, even faster. But obviously, this is also great for solo play, which during the quarantine for me has been a lot of fun. The rules are super flexible. You can create new charts for oddly shaped rooms or adapt the Warhammer Quest rules for the Warhammer Quest tiles. Add in more furniture, statues, anything you can imagine to create your own amazing dungeon adventures. Now, when would you play this? Pretty much any time you and your group is supposed to get together to play D&D, for example, but not everyone can make it. That's a real bummer. And that happens often enough, and now you can still get together and have a great time slaying monsters, and in a visually stunning way. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you found this video informative and useful. I know I just sort of rambled on in this video, but I hope you found it fun and enjoyed the dungeon eye candy. This Saturday, I will continue my delve into the Gazetteer series with a look at the hilarious supplement, The Orcs of Thar. As usual, I'd like to give a big shout out and thank you to my Patreons. If you enjoyed this review, please subscribe and click the little bell so you'll get updates when I add new content. Please give this video a like, comment, and share. Join the channel's Facebook page, RPG Reviews, and consider supporting the channel by becoming a patron yourself. Or, alternatively, you can just send a tip through the PayPal tip jar link in the description. As always, my friends, may your D20 roll true and game on.